today we're joined by Hollie Arnold on the second episode of In Conversation with DBC Training. So just start, Hollie, by giving like a brief introduction to you, what you do.
Yeah, hi, I'm Hollie Arnold. I am a javelin Paralympic champion. I've been doing javelin for many, many years, probably starting around about 11 years old. And this Sunday I've become 28. So I've been doing it for a very, very long time, but we're still going to carry on.
Okay, so on that, you said like from 11. Did you have any other ideas of what you wanted to be when you was younger? So like taking you right back to school.
Do you know what? I think when we was in school, we had a career advisor who came round and obviously, spoke to us individually. And this guy sat me down and he was like, what do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be a Paralympic athlete. And he kind of looked at me and was like, that's not a job. And I was like, but why isn't it? Because you can get paid to do like and win medals. And he's like, no, it's not really a job. And I was like, okay. And he's like, so what else would you like to do? I said, be a Paralympic athlete. That's what I want to do. And he kind of just looked at me and was just like, and kind of funny really, of obviously now my career and kind of my job is being a Paralympic athlete. It's kind of funny, but I think always wanted to be I never knew, obviously, I was always going to have sport in my entire life, but I've always maybe wanted to work with disability sport because even when I was younger, I never particularly had a role model who was disabled that I could look up to. It was more like Jessica Ennis-Hill and people like that I aspired to. So maybe one day that, people, even it's just more of people who look the same. Like I didn't know many people who had my disability. So when I started competing in Paralympic sport, that was like, wow, people look like me. I'm not original.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. How did you find the whole experience at school, university? Did you go to college? Did you go to uni? Any of that sort of stuff?
It was, sorry, excuse me, my mum's trying to FaceTime me.
It's all right.
Typical. There we go, it's gone off.
You're back.
Back now. Basically, I went to school, normal school, no special school. And I went to college in Wales, but I never wanted to go to university. And it was always because my javelin took precedence. And that's what I wanted to do. And my career was taking off. So, but in school, obviously, I found it difficult because I was the only girl who was disabled in the school. I was probably the only disabled person actually in the school. I found it difficult growing up, being a girl, having one arm and, sort of being self-conscious. And I was a very sporty tomboy girl as well. And, I used to hang around with the boys all the time and do, football and cricket. And rugby, always involved in that. And, the girls always used to be like, yeah. But do you know what? I think it was always going to happen. Like in school, you always get bullied for something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter just because I had a disability. It was probably because I was good at something that people didn't like. So I always, kind of imagined myself of just growing up and accepting my disability. Because at the end of the day, it sounds silly, but my arm's not going to grow back. I am who I am and just needed to accept that. But I think it was a little bit harder in school. So then when I finally, I moved to Wales and I was just 15 then. So coming on to 16 and did a sports course, of course. Yeah. And it was all full of boys, apart from one girl. And the funniest memory because I was really nervous. I was like, oh great, full of boys. I don't know how they're going to take me. Are they going to take the mick out of me? And we had to do this like orientation class, and it was just literally, what's your highest level of competition? Could be, whatever sport that was. And I was like, well, obviously at that time I represented Great Britain. So I put that down, and then we was asked to stand up and just speak about it briefly, and I said that, and all the boys were like, no way, compete for, and I was just like, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
And like I felt comfortable then because it was like the boys accepted me for who I was because I'd done something that was really cool, that they thought that was cool. So but like life's difficult sometimes, and it's just one of them things where I think girls especially get really like, people are looking at me. And when I was young, obviously like boys came on the scene, I was like, I stand out like a sore thumb. But do you know what, it's part of growing up, it's a part of life. We all have insecurities, and I think that without maybe my disability and having them experiences of being bullied and things like that, then kind of wouldn't have grown and to the person I am today. So
I feel sorry for whoever in that sport class had to follow you after. Like, yeah, I'd represented Team GB. What about you? Like, not quite at that level.
Not showed off, but
yeah. What age through this at school did you think, actually I could compete? I am actually better than sort of my peers at whatever you might see at this?
Do you know what? I think for me, my turning point was going to Beijing at 14 years old. You know, that was the 2008 Paralympics. I just turned 14 and was selected. It was all like a mad whirlwind. And I think, you know, being in that stadium in front of 90,000 people when I was this little young girl, you know, didn't even know the way of the world at that time, and just remember competing and being like, I love this. Like, I want to go out and win. Like, I want to win a gold medal. I want to be that person. And it was actually from my first Paralympics was when I went away, was like, I want to do this for my life. Like, this is what I want to do. And like I say, it sounds a bit cliche, but no, I felt powerful. I felt like everything that I wasn't good academically at school. So for me, javelin and sport was always something that I loved to do. And probably find myself like me. I'm probably most myself when I do javelin. So yeah, the age of 14, I guess.
That's pretty mad that you was in the Olympics at 14. I can't even think what I was doing at 14, but it definitely didn't compare.
I still can't believe it sometimes, but I guess for a 14-year-old at my age, because I had the disability, I felt like that made me try and grow up a little bit more and was a little bit more mature, because I had to be in certain situations and, you know, be a bit more of a higher level of maturity than maybe sometimes when you look at the 14 years old and you're like, God, how did I even survive when I was 14? But yeah.
So how did you balance like your education and that? 'Cause obviously, if you're training for the Olympics, you haven't got much time to. I don't know.
I mean, I always hated school. I'm not gonna lie. Probably because it just wasn't for me. But you know, when I did work, I tried to work as hard as possible. So the agreement was when I was in year 9. However age I was then, can't remember. They basically said, look, we're willing to give you 2 days off, because currently I was living in Grimsby and then I was training in Manchester. So like me and mum would have to get the train. So that was mum taking time off work and me taking time off school. And they said, look, we understand how important it is to you, but obviously your education too. So if we make up a deal where you go into like a catch-up group, and that's where you work now. And you know what? At first, you know, my friends were like, oh, you're in the special group and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh, whatever, you know, grow up. But you know what? It was the best thing I ever did, because the teachers there gave me, you know, full concentration. They worked with me, they helped me, they developed me. And, you know, I wasn't graded the most amazing grades at that time. And then when I left school, like, they dramatically improved, you know, and I was so happy. And that's the thing. It's, if you get an amazing teacher or somebody who understands you in the way of learning, I can't copy from a book. That's just not who I am. So yeah, like, my teachers really helped me pass, you know, and I enjoyed my classes then. Like, I didn't feel left out. I didn't feel the odd one out either. And I got to train and do school at the same time. So it was a really healthy balance.
Well, I think that resonates for a lot of people as well. Like, obviously, maybe not the javelin side of it and competing, but like, not everyone's academically as good as other people, but, you know, they're more hands-on. And that's sort of what the message we try and put across here is that, you know, everyone's going to be getting A's, but it doesn't mean that you can't succeed later on in life. So that's a really great message, to be fair. Talk us through a bit about your career journey. So you started then at 14, and I know obviously you must have done a lot since then, but can you give us any, like, some of the big achievements that you've sort of done across that time?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, you know, the next Paralympics was in London 2012. So that was always my aim. I was like, you know, home crowd, it's going to be amazing. And like, you know, I really want to go there and win a medal. I was like, I want to win a medal. This is my time. So we trained hard. Obviously, when I was that age, you know, 14s to sort of 18s, my training is very different to what it is now. So you have to take in consideration that my bones aren't fully grown. So I can't be forcing some of the stuff that I do now. I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff that I did. But, you know, and we trained hard at that age when we were that, you know, capable of doing certain things. So everything upped. It was quite intense. And obviously going into 2012, I was nowhere near the world record, let alone medal potential. So I think the old world record was 41:15, set by a Polish girl, and I threw a massive personal best, lifetime best, which was 36:26. I don't know how I remember this stuff because my brain is like, whoop, but I just remember that. So I threw like 2 meters more than I've ever done in my life. But again, I was 18 years old. I just didn't have the experience still. And, a lot of people don't realize this, and I don't really talk about all the time, but I wanted to quit after 2012 because I had people telling me I was not good enough, that I was never going to be a Paralympic champion, I was never going to be a world champion, that I just don't have it in me. And it set me back for a long time because I was like, do you know what? I've kind of proved to myself that I'm not good enough. And I remember my dad sitting down, I don't know where he took me, he probably took me to the pub. And he sat me down and he was like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to go for the next Paralympics? Do you want to win this? What do you want to do? And I was like, I feel in my bones that I'm going to win Rio. And he was like, right, well, we're going to have to move. So we ended up moving to Wales because that was where the coaching was at the time. I had access to strength and conditioning, had access to physiotherapists and nutritionalists and everything that I've not particularly had when I was going from 14 to 18. So we all decided to move as a family, which was massive for me, let alone my parents. My mum and dad had to move away from we all had to move from our family and friends, and that was tough, especially as I just left school at 15. So it was like 16 years old that we moved. No, 60. I'm getting confused with how old I am now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had to move after 2012. So yeah, it was just one of them things. But do you know what? It was probably the best thing we ever did. And we also hit a massive downfall in 2013. My mum obviously dealt with depression and had to be hospitalized. And, as a family who didn't understand depression back in 2013, which was, not talked about a lot, it was hard to deal with as an 18, 19-year-old. I didn't understand the process of, mum going through this thing. And I also had to train 24/7, and it was tough, but, I think things like that really, really build your own character. And I remember having to compete in then 2013 was the World Championships in Lyon in France. And I had neither of my parents there because my dad had to work and my mum was still in hospital. So that was probably the first competition that they've never been there. Like, I did cross country and things crazy like that when I was teeny tiny, and they were always there for every single comp. So going into this competition knowing that it's been a tough year for me, and also had the pressure of, if you don't medal gold, then we'll probably take you off funding. So I had everything on my shoulders, and I was like, I'm going to do this for mum. Like, you should never always do things for other people, but this was for mum. And I remember, obviously, when we finished the comp, I became world champion for the first time. And I remember standing on that podium looking for my mum and dad still. I knew they weren't there, but I was looking for them in the crowd, and my heart was broken. But to become a world champion after 2012 situation, and fighting for everything I wanted, and to fight for mum, that was certainly an up and down memory in my journey. And then obviously things got better. Mum came out of hospital and she was doing really well, which obviously made our lives a lot happier. And then obviously in the 2 years from 2013 was the next World Championship. So obviously I wanted to go out there and become double world champion. And that was in Doha. So the most amazing thing was mum was able to be there. Unfortunately, dad had to work abroad, so he missed out again. And I became double world champion in 2015. And it was just like, I knew obviously Tokyo, that's just gone. We knew Rio was around the corner from there, and it was just like, okay, what can we do to really push on now? I need to break the world record. We need to be up there. I think it threw 40, 50, I think, in 2015. So it moved up. And I was just like, right, we really need to kick this up. You know, I had a lot of battles with my coach in Wales. You know, we didn't get on. It was a very quite toxic coach and athlete relationship. He made me feel like I wasn't worth anything, and there was a lot going on in the background, but I didn't want to let anybody get in my way of what I needed to do. So I trained mostly by myself. I trained one of me and a training partner back in Wales, and it was just us two really. So we kind of just dealt with stuff, and then so 2016 came, and unfortunately a couple of months just before Rio I injured my shoulder. So I had like a bit of an impingement in the back of the shoulder, and we were so worried that obviously if I picked up a javelin before we actually went, then I might do more damage. So I had 2 cortisone injections, which is the most painful thing I've ever had. I am not good with needles. No, so having that in my shoulder, I nearly fainted. So she did the one, and then we had to redo the other because I nearly fainted on her. Yeah. But luckily, so we got through that. And I just remember it was like, we did little bits. We did like ball throws and things just very, very subtly on the shoulder. And I thought, we're only really going to have one very light session before going into Rio to compete. And I just think, come on now, stick together. It was okay. I was a little bit pain, but like I felt okay. So I was like, right, okay, just wait until the day now. All about visualization for me. That was what that helped me, was for psychology wise, was just imagining me winning. And I did that quite often. So so it came to the comp. It was 11:02 in the morning, I think. In Rio, it was boiling hot. It was like 40 degrees. I don't do well with heat because I am so pale. I was melted, absolutely melted before I even got out to the track. And I just remember feeling like this is my time. This is my time, you know, come on now. And I remember the first throw was like 30 centimeters off the world record. And I was like, here we go. She's back. Let's do this. And second throw broke the world record. I couldn't even tell you the emotion that was going through me. Like, I was shaking. I was like in tears. I could see, because my mom, my dad, my brother, my boyfriend and his mom, they were all watching me. So I could hear them. I could see them. And it was just like having all my family there at once. It was just like, I was like, oh my God, Holly, you've got throws left. So calm yourself down. I think then the third round was still really good. Then the 4th round, I broke the world record again. So I went even further. And then obviously with a javelin competition, or mostly the throws comp, is if you're leading into the 3rd round, it gets reversed. So if I'm obviously leading, I will throw last, and then, you know, so on and so on. So I'd put myself in a really amazing position. Obviously anything can change at this time, you know, I was just hoping and praying. And I remember taking obviously my last throw and just, you know, what did I have to lose? I just needed to go out there. Obviously I was already in goal position. The person who threw second, you know, didn't beat me. So I was like, come on. And just that every single emotion just came out in this throw. And I just remember it landed on the floor. And obviously like, I don't even know how I felt. I was just kind of like, oh my God, is this enough? Like, can I go further? You know, how do I feel? And they turned around and was like, because at the time I threw like 41.65, I think it was. And they were like 43.01. And I was literally like, I never in my right mind knew I could throw 43 meters. And I was just like, I was so shocked. I couldn't even, nothing sunk in straight away. Obviously at the time I ran to my coach, give him a hug, and my family were like, yeah, going absolutely nuts. I could see my mum being like, oh my God. And just like, for me, that's always a memory that, you know, through them hard times of being pushed back, going through the stuff with mum, doubting myself, having other people doubt me, going into Rio and being injured, was to come away from that, being Paralympic champion and breaking the world record multiple times, was just like the best ever feeling. So so that was 2016. And then really the sort of majors was obviously in 2017 was the World Championships, home games. Obviously had a lot of demons to deal with from 2012, and we went into 2017 and we smashed it. We actually broke the world record by 1 centimeter.
Yeah.
So I did 43.02, absolutely mad. So obviously then I was triple world champion. So that was obviously amazing to defend a title as well. And then 2018 for me was actually really, really amazing because the Commonwealth Games doesn't have every single disability event. So my disability, the F46, actually came into this for the first time ever. So I was like, this is major. Like, if I can get this title, I will basically hold pretty much every single major title there is. So we had a lot going on in 2017. My coach from, I actually moved then from Wales after 2016 to Loughborough in 2017. So that was a big change for me again, but mum and dad stayed, they went back home. So I was on my own. And yeah, so my coach actually at the time had been suspended for inappropriate behaviour with female throwers. So I literally got to Loughborough 2 weeks and then this happened. I was just like, oh my God, can I have a little bit of luck, please? So it was quite difficult, and the coach David Turner, who is my coach now, he stepped in and helped me, and he was like, look, we've got 4 months to try and win the Commonwealths. We'll try. So, you know, we worked really closely. Luckily we have a really good friendship and a bond, and we went out to obviously Australia, Gold Coast, which was amazing. Like, it was the best time ever, and you know, just the people there, and it was the first time that it was integrated, you know, Paralympics and the Olympic guys were together, and that's the first experience I've had. So that was amazing in itself. And you know, I was really nervous because I've always had battles with me and the New Zealand girl Hollie. You know, we're always chasing each other, and obviously I'd come on top at every sort of competition at that time, but I knew, you know, she was in good shape to throw well. And the first throw, she broke my world record, and in a way it was like, all right, it's about time you threw decent against me, but at the same time I was like, I've got a job to do here, and we've still got 5 throws. And I remember just like, come on, just put yourself in that position where you throw last, so you can try, you know, you can give it. And every single throw was going further and further and further, but it just wasn't there enough yet. And I remember it coming down to the last throw, and I was just like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do if I lose this? You know, I had my family watching me. I had a lot of expectation on me. And I put so much expectation on myself. And I just remember, I mean, there was no Australians in our group. So the people who were cheering for, they were cheering for me because they didn't like New Zealand, so they liked England. So this stadium was absolutely buzzing, and I just thought, you know, give this every single thing you've got. I remember running up and just hitting the javelin. As soon as the javelin left my fingers, I knew that I'd hit it. And the emotions that came out of my body, I jumped up, I absolutely screamed. I was like a monster. I was like, ah, like this. And I turned around and just screamed because I had no idea like what it was going to be, because you can't see from this side. And I knew it was further, but I just didn't know if it was enough. And I remember waiting for the EDM, which obviously they poke in the floor and you got to wait. It was like the longest 10 seconds of my life. And I turned around to the board and all I could see was 44. And the other Hollie had hit 43.30. So I was literally just like, oh my God, I was like, number 1, like this. I don't even know what's wrong with it. I lost it. And then obviously Hollie then had 1 throw because I was in 2nd place currently. And obviously at that moment, everything can go wrong. And but every single little bone fibre in my body just felt like this was mine to take. And I just turned away and didn't look. I was like, I'm not looking. And all I heard, obviously, her scream. And I just looked and I was like, I've won it. I've won it. I just knew. And like, obviously the score came up and then it was me, and I ran to Dave. I literally nearly knocked him over because he was sat down. I just ran up to him and I was bursting into tears, but you couldn't see me. You could just see my back like, and yeah, and you know, that was just an amazing memory for me for 2018. And then we randomly had that year, they said the Europeans was pulled out, so my category was pulled out, so I was actually on a downtime. They then called me 2 weeks later from Europeans saying, there is a competition. And I was like, are you joking me? So we literally had 2 weeks to train, which was, you know, it's not a lot. I won the Europeans, so that made me Paralympic champion, world champion, European champion, and Commonwealth champion, because that's why we wanted to do it. Wanted to get the 4, and we did it. We didn't do it in a very good distance. It was like 40 something, but considering that I'd had the downtime and we weren't ready for Europeans, we were really happy. And then obviously 2019 was the world champs, and that was in Doha, but it was really late. So they're usually around September time. This was November. So from April 2018 to November 2019, I didn't have anything majorly. So it was a long, long season. Again, it's always one of the things of, I don't want to lose a title. I wanted to go out there and try and get that 4th title. And luckily it all came together. I wasn't mentally in a very good place in 2019, but we put it together and we threw 44.73, which was a PB for me. So we took the gold and we PB'd. Yeah, it was just one of the things that I just needed to do and then finish off the year. And then obviously then COVID hit. Yeah. So I feel like I hadn't even got 2 years time to tell you about. Yeah. Obviously for me, briefly, I struggled mentally. I really struggled, not having the Paralympics on that year messed me up. I took a big step back from athletics for about 3 months. I needed to sort myself out, needed to figure out who I was, because I felt like my identity had disappeared. And we battled sort of 2020, 21 was kind of quite rough for me, but we had Tokyo. And I know going into Tokyo, I didn't have a very good year. I wasn't throwing well. I wasn't mentally 100% well, but, I wanted to give it my best shot. And I hate talking about it because it's still really raw for me, but it's a part of an athlete's life. You go ups and downs, and that's really normal. Obviously in 2020, 2021 Paralympics, I won bronze, and that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Was, Hollie won, the New Zealand girl, and I mean, fair play, take my hat off to her. I've been beating her for 9 years straight. So if it was anybody who's going to take that gold medal off me, it was definitely her who deserved that. But it wasn't good distances. It rained. I mean, it rained. It poured down. Go to Tokyo, it'll be fine. No, absolutely raining. But I learned a lot from that. Coming away and sort of realizing that no one is unbeatable. Everybody is beatable, and we struggled for them 2 years, and that massively impacted me. I was ready in 2020 to take on that gold medal again, to defend that Paralympic title, but everything got messed up for everybody. So I have come out the other side of that. I never realized that I would be able to do that by myself. I never thought that I could deal with that and process that, because there was a lot of people who doubted me after that, and maybe still do to this day. But one performance doesn't kind of show who you are. I mean, if my other past of my career so far, if they think that one competition is going to affect me, then they don't know me at all. So we've been training really hard, we've been grafting, we've been losing weight, we've been getting stronger and getting ready for this year. And this year, obviously for me, I don't have a Commonwealth Games or World Champs now. It's been taken away from us. So this year is all about enjoying ourselves, mentally getting in a good place, being happy, enjoying training, enjoying life, and having that an amazing balance that we didn't have for the last 2 years. And here we are now. So we're ready for my next probably major champs, which is British champs this weekend. And I want to go out there and throw well. I want to end up on number 1 spot this year on the rankings, and we can say thank you very much, and we'll crack on ready for the next few years.
So when I asked you at the start what your biggest achievement was, you not much. Not much.
Nah,
yeah,
not much.
No, honestly, that is so inspirational. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So much. And I think I know the answer to this on one of the questions. Sonny, we've got, did you ever have a plan B from javelin? Do you
know what? No, but I always thought that if I was obviously never going to carry on doing the javelin, like I obviously got the chance to do, I'm misled back in 2020, and that really broadened my eyes to something that maybe that could go down the TV line, or could maybe do presenting, or I love makeup and I love fashion. So I've always maybe wanted to maybe do something within that. And I've never really had an actual plan B, but maybe I should have, because I think sometimes like I put so much into one thing. Like, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, even though I have done for the last God knows how many years. It's obviously really sensible to have something in the background. But yeah, I would maybe like to do something, you know, I'd love to, like, you know, I'm not currently sponsored a clothing company, so maybe I'd go down making my own clothing company and things like that, you know, that I've sort of had the experience of, and sort of as a disability, you know, trying to sort of get out there and break through. And yeah, maybe there's options. I think it's just I'm currently still I'm still going, I'm not retiring yet, but people keep asking me this. They're like, when are you going to retire? And I was like, can you just not please ask me? But you know, in my head, I think that obviously we have Paris in the next 2 years, and then we have LA. And I think, you know, by that time, it's maybe having to think of that'll be my 6th Paralympics in LA, 2028. So, you know, I'll be 34. God, that sounds old. It's not even old, but it sounds old because I've been doing it for so long. But you know, that for me is a potential. You know, it's something that I'm thinking about. You know, I want a family, I want to settle down and stuff, but again, my athletics is always dictated around my life, so I don't know if I'm able to have a baby and come back. Like, I think I want to finish off on an absolute high, and then I want to then explore the world and then settle down and have kids. But yeah, you just never know. We never know what life's going to come to us, and you know, what opportunities potentially will be, you know, landed on my lap. But for now, obviously, sport is something that I still want to pursue, but you just never know what might happen in the future.
And you did mention it there briefly. I've got to ask you about it. Not maybe javelin based, but get me. I'm a celebrity. Obviously, how did you find that? I just find that whole experience.
It was mad. I still kind of think about it sometimes and go, was I actually on that? Obviously, it was an amazing chance to be, you know, on TV, and sort of, I wanted to go on there and to show people, everybody, that disabilities doesn't affect you. You know, if you let that affect you. And you know, I wanted to give it my all and go out there and do what I could. And I hope that, you know, I've had some amazing comments and saying, like, my daughter and my son you know, want to get in sport, or they want to get in Paralympic sport, and they want to be the next you, and things like that just make me feel like everything was worth it. Obviously, we had some downsides to it, where there was online bullying all the time, and that was tough to deal with, because I'd never really put myself into that situation before, where I've been on one of the biggest shows, you know, in the country, really. So that was quite hard to deal with. And you know, I still sometimes, if I see something, or you know, people would message me and say not very nice things, and I just find it hard, because going on TV, you don't really you see snippets, and it's edited, and that's the problem. We don't know what's going out. So I was myself in there, and I enjoyed myself, and I loved the people we worked with. You know, they were amazing. They kept me going, and we've still friends now. We still have that WhatsApp group that we still, you know, speak on a regular. And yeah, I wouldn't take it back for the world, even with the horrible comments and the bullying, you know. But unfortunately, we all kind of have to go through that, and it's just one of them things where it's horrible, and we shouldn't have to accept things like that. But at the same time, it's, you know, I had the best experience. I was on I'm a Celebrity, and they weren't. So a lot of it was unfortunately jealousy, I think, maybe. But, you know, I loved it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I was proud of myself for dealing with things that I'm very out of my comfort zone. You know, I train for these comps day in and day out, and I still get nervous. But going to something that you don't have a clue what's going to come at you, or, you know, it's going to fall on you, or the amount of bugs, and yeah.
Is it as we see it with, like, the lack of food? Because a lot of times it gets chucked at people that, you know, you're getting sneaked food, meals in between, and that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I wish, honestly. So I thought, you know, in my head, I was like, we'll get a snack now and again. No, you get 600 calories, and then that's a bare minimum, and that's your beans and rice. And we did it where we worked out that we get a certain amount of beans and rice So we would have enough for breakfast, dinner, dinner time, and then tea. So we'd always make sure that we had food just in case we didn't win stars. So anytime we won stars was obviously, that was the only time where we got extra food. And I mean, I remember at one point I was just sitting around the campfire and I'm just munching on a squirrel's armpit, and I was like, what is life? You know, what is even going on? But, you know, I loved it, and I lost a stone in there. I mean, I probably needed it because I put on quite a lot of weight in 2020 through lockdown. But yeah, I lost a stone in 2 weeks, which was mad. But I lost a lot of muscle as well, which was really bad. Yeah. But we built that up quickly, and yeah, you know, I loved it. It was an amazing experience, and there's not many people in life who can say they went on I'm a Celeb. And of course, being in COVID times, everyone's always going to remember that, and it was the castle. So yeah, you know what? It was worth it. I enjoyed it, and I'm proud of myself for going out and doing something that's very much out of my comfort zone.
That's good, yeah. So most people would love to go on I'm Celeb, wouldn't they, really? It means you're doing something.
Exactly. And eat beans and rice. We love it.
Maybe not that bit, but the rest.
Maybe not that bit.
Yeah. And then just a couple more questions. So you said earlier that maybe you didn't have like a role model. Do you think have you picked up any along the way now? Do you think someone who you think, yeah, she really inspires me, or he really inspires me, whatever it might be?
Do you know what? There's many athletes who inspire me. But I know this is going to sound really cheesy, but my mum. Yeah. My mum is a massive role model to me, you know. Just seeing her, how she battled things and came out the other side, and the amount of determination she had and strength that I obviously have, you know, there's times where it keeps me going. And I feel like even though you can have people who you can aspire to, I don't think there's anyone better than your parent or your parents, because they gave me the freedom and the life to do what I do, and gave me the background and the focus on what I needed to do, and pushed me when there was days where I didn't want to do it. So yeah, I would say mum, and a lot of my friends are Paralympic athletes as well, and I feel like all of them inspire me. You know, just we all have different disabilities, we all get on with it, we all have jokes, you know, and just to see them when they win medals and do amazing at competitions, that I love that fills me up so much. So, but yeah, I would have to say my mum.
That's a nice answer. It's not a nice answer. And then the last one is, if you could go back and sort of speak to Hollie Arnold at like 14 years old, what sort of advice would you give to her? What would you say?
Be kind to yourself. I think that I'm still my own worst critic, and I'm so negative about myself and things like that like, give yourself a break. You know, I've done a lot in my lifetime that I should be really proud of, and I forget that I came from when I was 14-year-old. You know, that's where my career started. So you need to be nicer to myself, and also to enjoy the experiences of life. Doesn't matter what it is, but I think that you should always make sure that you have the best people around you. You know, I have a very small but amazing friends and family, and I think, you know, I wouldn't be able to survive without them. So I think having, you know, always knowing that there's somebody there to be there for you is probably one of the most important things for me. And yeah, just to be kind to yourself, just be you. Don't let anybody make you feel like you're not good enough. You know, definitely not.
Well, I don't know, you cannot feel good enough. You've literally broke every record, got Olympics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we still need to break more. We've still got more to come.
But that's all the questions for now. So thank you very much for coming on. I'm sure that there'll be a lot of people listening to this who all think that's very inspirational.
I hope so.
From it. So yeah, thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you.
Hopefully see you in the Olympics soon.
You sure will, hopefully.
Yeah, wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Hollie. See you later.
Thank you.